Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Tanya Adams. I am the Senior Vice President at WSP for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Quality. And I'm also the National Chair for COMTO, Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. And it is my pleasure to be here with these four amazing presidents. Let's give them a round of applause before they get started. As WSP is the lead for IDOT 75th Street Corridor Improvement Program, better known as SIP, and that's how I'm going to refer to us today. This includes the oversight of the scope and budget of the projects, community outreach and engagement within our footprint, and we lead with our elected officials, community leads, and public at large. We oversee the workforce development efforts and the program's educational commitment, which is essential. So right now, I want to highlight a little bit about CREATE. It encourages DBE participation, and that's true participation. It encourages to make sure that our contracts have a great and amazing goal, with incentives prime contractors to hire DBE, MBE, WBE companies. For the Forest Hill Flyover Project, better known as P3, the DBE goal is 30%, and this will continue throughout all of the CREATE projects. DBE firms are important and necessary on all projects, but especially CREATE. The outreach DBE firms and the private opportunity and commitment to businesses grow through their participation. This can be seen demonstrated at our Get On Board events, and definitely with our four presidents sitting here in front of you. This year we had dedicated the West Side Get On Board, and now we're holding the South Side Get On Board to ensure businesses could find projects in their neighborhoods and their communities. The critical roles of DBEs on the project, bringing creativity throughout the projects we work on, their unique perspectives on how to make a project better in the communities that we live and serve in. Today we have our four DBE firms here, present the hard work and dedication it takes to grow your own business and how CREATE supports them in their journey. With their expertise, wealth of knowledge, and the diverse concepts. It is my pleasure today to introduce you all to CREATE DBE success stories. I want to let everyone know at the end of this program we will be taking questions, and Katie over here, who's raising her hand, will be taking comment cards. So feel free throughout the program if you want to write down any questions you would love to present to these four. We'll be going. So let's get started. I want to take a few minutes for each of the firms to be able to introduce themselves, how they got started, what makes them tick, what makes them want to do this every day. And I'm going to start with Michael right here. Michael's going to introduce himself and tell you a little about his firm.
Thanks, Tanya. First and foremost, I want to thank the CREATE family for putting something like this together. We've been in business now for 25 years, and I remember 20 years ago, we were in the audience, and I was that kid, and CREATE took a chance on me to grow our company. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this distinguished panel. My name is Mike Saltaggero. I'm a United States Marine. Any veterans in the room? Hoorah. So I'm also an inventor. We own a company called Industrial Fence Perimeter Security Solutions. Like I said, we've been in business for 25 years. We're a manufacturer, installer, and fabricator of security products, safety products. We manufacture here in Chicago. We're a byproduct of Made in America. We've done a lot. We've worked for a lot of agencies, from IDOT to Tollway to the airport. Chicago's my home. Now, as I said, we're an inventor. Today, 25 years, we hold 34 patents. We're a company of innovation. The industry is changing, the world's changing, and we have a responsibility as owners and founders and leaders as we join together and join the rank and files to rewriting Chicago's history, and I'm proud of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. We're just going to go in the order that we're sitting in. We got Mr. Rashad here.
Sure. Good morning. Still morning? Yeah. Good morning. My name is Rashad Johnson. I am President and CEO of Ardmore Roderick. Thank you, Mike, for your service. Appreciate that. I own Ardmore Roderick. We are an infrastructure solutions firm based here in Chicago. A little over 300 employees in 7 states. We focus on all things solutions as it pertains to infrastructure. We've been on this CREATE project now since 2012. In various capacities, we've worked on 16 different projects, both as sub and prime, and looking forward to having a productive talk today.
Eileen.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Eileen Chin, president of RM Chin and Associates. I am the second generation owner of our family business. It was started by my father in the late 80s, and I joined in 2004. I always joked with my dad when I joined was that it was easy when you did business. Back in the 90s, it was the go-go 90s. You got work by a conversation and a handshake. I don't think that happens much more anymore. So, when I joined in 2005, that's when we started our transportation division. We had just primarily done work in buildings and vertical structures and aviation. And so since 2005, we've grown our business on the transportation sides in all modes very organically. So we know the value of partnerships and events like this and look forward to sharing some of that with you.
Thank you, Eileen. Good morning, everybody. My name is Luis Montgomery. I'm president of 2IM Group. We started in 2005. We are a civil engineering and environmental services firm. In the civils aspect, we do work with the rail and at the airport and highways, roads, and streets with the transportation sector overall, in design, construction management, and program management. I've been involved with CREATE, for a while, and I'll dive into the story a little later on. But I've always loved the railroad. I used to take the train, Amtrak, on the Southwest Chief from Chicago. My dad is from Santa Fe, New Mexico, so we used to take the train to the Southwest every couple years, and it's always just it's a great adventure. I recommend it to anybody, and that's how I also became a kind of a train junkie, if you will, and just enjoy working with the railroads.
Thank you, Luis. We're going to stay with you for a second, Luis, because he also introduced me to taking a long trip from here to Seattle, Washington on the train. Amazing. So we'll start with you. How did you first hear about the CREATE program?
Thank you, Tanya. I do recommend, as Tanya said, taking one of those long train rides out west or east or wherever, but don't have an agenda, because if you need to get there on a certain schedule, you won't make it. But it's a beautiful ride. I first heard about CREATE in probably about 2008 or 9 with is Tom Livingston. There he is over there from CSX. He was at HACIA monthly meeting and in introducing CREATE to all the members. He talked about it at length. As I said before, I love railroads, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that this program existed. So that was probably about 2009, and I just started diving into it. And it took a while. It took a long time to finally, get some traction, pun intended. And the nice thing about CREATE is it creates more than just the infrastructure in Chicago. As President Preckwinkle said, Chicago and Cook County host all all of them. This is the only city county that has all 6 Class 1s meeting here in North America. So that's quite a hub. And as well as creating all this work and creating all this potential, it creates partnerships, creates mentorship. My story specifically is thanks to Benish. I know I saw Darwin in here. I don't know where they are. Oh, there they are. And we did a informal mentor-protege on WA1. And that was several years ago now, and WA1 is still moving. And then, we started working with them on, with Norfolk Southern. That was with Union Pacific, then with Norfolk Southern, and we also ended up getting an opportunity with Andy Nickel over at Hanson in that same corridor. So, Create, learned about it in 2008 through Tom Livingston, still good friends with them. Started working with Benish on WA1, ended going with Hanson on EW3, is that correct? B2, EW2, and and all I'm just saying is that it creates partnerships, and that's what you have to think about with Create.
Thank you, Louise. In speaking with that, going to Rashad, you talked about how long you've been with Create. Which projects have you worked on so far, and any highlights or notes you want to give us on those projects that you worked on?
Thank you, Tanya. Ardmore Roderick has been on Create since 2012, where we were part of HMTB's Phase 3 program manager. So we were actually the second ever mentor protege for for IDOT, and it was on this project. At the time, we didn't know anything about rail. We had very little knowledge on it, so we hired a few people and were able to be trained and mentored by HNTB on that project. Since then, we've touched WA11, which is the Dalton Interlocking, GS15, P1, WA7, E3, and the list goes on. However, I'm most proud of the Metro Rock Island Bridge, number 87. That's the one that we primed. So we, for years, were able to be a sub-consultant for years, and then ended up priming a pretty complex design job where we were raising a bridge. So if you know anything about design and raising bridges, it's not nearly as easy as it sounds. It's actually pretty complex. And so our engineers were able to, in prime capacity, do the design for it. It's actually, that project's in final stages of design today. And we're looking, and that was through Metra. And so we've worked for some of the Class 1 rails as a sub. We also worked at Metra as a sub. We've worked for IDOT as a sub, and then Metra as a prime. So our role in this has kind of grown as the project and program has as well. And we're really looking forward to additional prime opportunities.
Awesome, thanks. Eileen, I got a question for you, for people out here in the audience. How do you find out about the work with the railroads and primes? And how does your company get in front of it? With agencies and selection committees, how do you position yourself?
Thanks, Tanya. So if you heard my colleagues here talk about the variety of projects that they're on and the alphabet soup that they also talked about, that's the one great thing about Create, is that there's so many opportunities, but that's the also challenging part of Create, is that there's so many opportunities. And as a DBE or any firm, really, you have to do your homework. You have to understand, you have to know what you're actually pursuing and the work that you might be pursuing, specifically what type of work is involved with that. Aside from that, you also need to know who are the agencies and the users that are going to be affected by that project. Because if you know that and you're informed with that information, that educates you and you're able to go to have conversations with, the owners, the agencies, the primes, to talk about what you might be able to do. And you might be saying, well, how do I know what I can do if I've never worked on a railroad project, right? Well, if you've worked on infrastructure projects that impact a community, impact a region, impact just a section of road or bridge, then you have relevant experience. And you should make sure that you note that when you're talking to the primes and the agencies. don't discount the experience that you already have. If you haven't, I mean, and that's what these types of events do for us, is to be able to give us information and put us in front of those who are doing work and are hoping to do work. I'm hoping to do work with these guys, quite honestly, and help each other out. But I would say that those are the two most important things, is being educated around what are the projects, what are the programs, who are the users, who are the stakeholders, and then from the Prime's perspective, what are they looking at? You should always ask them, what are you guys interested in pursuing? Because they as well are probably targeting specific projects.
Thank you, Eileen. So Mike, so tell me, how has your firm been able to grow through the work on Create?
Question. Well, selling is one thing. Getting on a job is one thing. But when you get on a job, the most important thing is you got to understand how to market. This is a chance you get to showcase who you are and not be afraid to ask for help. And people do business with people they like. People do business with people they understand. And we're all pushing this forward. I had an opportunity to work on the Inglewood with K5. They put me on that job with them. Now they've taken me all over the place, from the tollway to IDOT to the airport, because they continue working with us. I don't see them as a contractor, I see them as a partner. When we go on a project, we're partners. Just recently, we were awarded with Granite. They took a chance on our company, gave us an $8 million contract to be on that job, which we're proud to be a part of it. So we're doing a lot of work, not just through the state of Illinois, but we're actually going out too also. But if it wasn't for the people in this room today and the contractors that took a chance on me 25 years ago, I wouldn't be here. So we always got to continue pushing forward. And just recently, I was able to pay it forward and give it back, and hired K5 to, we're launching an innovation hub in Chicago. And thank you. And we hired them to do the job for us. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Can I piggyback on that also?
Go ahead, yes.
We were able, because of the Create program and how it grew our business, the 2IM Group, was specifically track design. We have 2 track design engineers now doing work on EW2 and EW3B. And so that is something we would have never been able to do without Create and that opportunity that it's been afforded to us. As well as we also have a signals engineer, a communication signals engineer that has rail experience from Canadian National. And that also has led us to do some work with CTA in the signals space, which is, same steel wheel system, a little bit less weight. But those opportunities, Mike was able to leverage relationships, good work, and the Create opportunity to grow, and that's how 2IM Group has also been able to do that.
Some things I've heard today is mentor protege, partnering, making the contact, making sure that you're reaching out to primes who want to work with you, reaching out to the railroads, being engaging. These are things that I'm hearing from all 4 of these people up here that are essential. The one thing I know is that the commitment for education and outreach with these 4 firms are essential. So my question goes, how has Create workforce development and education efforts supported your own personal missions and goals? And I'll just start with Rashad here.
I also want to piggyback on the last question, and then I'll answer this one.
I knew that.
Relationships are everything. This business is based off of relationships. And we were able to parlay that relationship not just for Create, but throughout. And so as a result now, we were able to work with multiple agencies as we grow into Prime. The goal here is for us not to stay a sub forever. The goal is for us to be Prime. And so we learn, we get people, we establish relationships so that we can actually go out and pursue this as prime. And so we're at the point now where we're looking at how can we be the best prime we can be. And because of that, even though we still qualify, we don't use ourselves as DBE percentages. We reach back in the bag, we find others to fulfill the DBE, because as we look to grow and grow out of the programs, we need to operate as a prime. And so we look back, we bring in people to fulfill those DBE roles for us as we are continuing to pursue. So I want to make sure that I wanted to put that out there. If you use your relationships right, you'll be able to pursue these as prime, which is what I think all business owners want to do, and that's to stand on your own 2 feet and do the work yourselves. So I'm sorry, what was your question?
Did I not say this
Yeah,
was
I
going
know.
to happen?
So we knew it was
Okay,
gonna happen.
but you know, you're my guy, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to go with it. How has Create Workforce Development and Education efforts supported your own personal mission and goals for your
Gotcha.
firms
Well,
and personally, because I know that's a big thing for you?
This is perfect. It's a perfect segue. Our goal is to go and be prime. I mean, let's just call it what it is. My goal is to make sure that we have the qualified people in order to do that, and we wouldn't be able to do it without those mentor proteges, without some of those people that we were able to bring on as a result of working as a sub, so that we can develop our people, and then we can give back to not just other DBEs, but also the primes that we are now priming, so that we can bring them in and be our subs as we go and pursue. There's enough work out there for everybody. I think a lot of people like to say, oh, well, you know, you're getting too big and you're doing too much. And this. No, it's not. No one ever says that about WSP or Jacobs, HTB. No one ever says that. But they always say that the DBEs have enough. And I think that's not right. We are prime. We're going after it as prime. And so we've been able to really do that and develop our people under these contracts so that they can then stand up a project on their own.
Okay, but I want to touch on one thing. Let's talk about workforce development.
Well, I was developing my workforce as we were looking at prime.
Yeah, but let's talk about what we're doing in the community. All the stuff that, you know, that our more Roderick. is doing in the
Fantastic.
community.
So we've actually participated in a few different programs, and we've hired people from various communities that we are currently working not necessarily on Create with, but on other projects. Specifically, I'm thinking about CTA projects that we're working on, that we've been able to bring in people from the community, train them, put them in various programs, and then actually put them out on the projects, learning new trade, learning new skills. We've probably had 5 or 6 of those people, and we're trying to look for more. At the end of the day, you can't be what you can't see, and so I'm trying to make sure that we can show what it is you can be to the community and the people around.
Thank you. Eileen, I know you had some interns this summer for.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, as a, you know, to be responsible in this industry, we're not only looking at the workforce that we have and to continue to develop them, but look to the future and, you know, starting the interest within our industry in STEM and in STEAM at the high school level. And that's a wonderful thing about the Create program, is that, you know, our partners have understood the value of that and are investing back into our communities. So we were lucky to have, and I know Luis has too, interns, 2 interns from the local high schools. And when I tell you these individuals were so smart, I mean, and just so savvy. I just looked at these guys and I'm like, dude, I mean, you're way cooler than I ever was in high school. And just the inquisitive nature of themselves and the excitement to be part and exposure to a program like this, it was really fun to see. You know, and they're not shy about asking you some tough questions. And so that was really valuable for us in terms of being able to get that interest started early. You know, we're high school, even into junior high, is when we want to start this next generation to be excited about infrastructure and all of the things that, not just engineering, construction, but all like STEAM. I heard that recently. I was like, yes, that is so true, because these types of programs have so much to offer And especially as technology evolves and, all of that is going to be, adding into our industry. So that was a real treat for us in terms of hosting some of these interns.
Louise?
Yes, as Eileen said, the interns that we had just one intern, and he was extremely inquisitive. I thought that was a great word. We were able to rotate him through, I think it was a very short period of time, 6 or 7 weeks, which was like almost too short because you want to rotate them to the different groups that we have. So we have an environmental group, and he took to the environmental, due diligence in terms of soil and reading the reports and seeing when it's contaminated and all that, stuff that I don't know how to read. And he just picked it up, and our head of that group was very, very just like shocked how quickly a high school, boy could pick this stuff up. And as I alluded to before about creates the partnerships, it creates work, it creates all that stuff. It's creating this opportunity for students in the community. The CREATE program pays the salaries for these individuals. So that's just an opportunity that is great for a business owner, right? You know what I mean? And we house, and they're in our office. There's a schedule, there's a protocol, and then there's just that learning that happens. So I think that's just another create in the CREATE program itself.
I would highly encourage you all to look at Chicago's Children's First Fund. We are partnered with a school about 4 blocks away, Mays Elementary. And so we go in every month, we bring engineers, we taught them about rail last year, we're going to teach them about electrical engineering, mechanical engineering at the grade school level. I agree with Eileen that at high school, and so we've actually gone a little bit earlier because I believe that once you get to high school, there's too many competing interests. There's girls, there's boys, there's hormones, and there's sports, and there's all types of other things that are competing. And so if you don't love math and science going into high school, you're not going to create a love for it at 15 years old. You have to love it going in. And so we're trying to get earlier than even high school to get their brains working in that way. And we've been really successful at it right here in Inglewood community.
A great job. Workshops, development for us. We hire a lot of people in the trades, iron workers, local 63, and operators 150. And it's really cool when I see a kid comes into our office to ask for a job, that they came to a workshop here or someone else, and just by them showing up, I took a chance on them. When you talk about an inner city kid, when you give a chance on them, you give them a Union card, you might as well give them an American Express card. You change their life. You break the cycle. And time and time again, our core values, 2 of them are leadership, top one, and innovation is the second one. And coming here and sending my people here, we're building leaders. We're 25 years, I just had my 55th birthday, and then we're in that legacy, and we understand stewardship to others. Believe it or not, when I tell you this, miracles happens when you do that. I have been abundantly because of the fact that I was able to give back. Not because my soul told me to do that, because I was that kid. When I got back from Iraq, somebody took a chance on me, and that really sits here. And now my chance to do it myself, it gives me great hummus. Thank you very much.
If you truly know me, you know me that I have a commitment to diversity and inclusion. That's for everyone. And giving a young person an opportunity is essential. See, I staggered into this industry not knowing a thing. I wasn't the first in my family to go to college, but just didn't know about the transportation industry and all that it has. And I have to say, working with Eileen's group of people at Chin on this commitment effort that we have for SIP is amazing. We're working in grade schools. We're doing bridge building competitions with 3rd graders. We had a group of students, and we said, we got a problem over here in 79th Street where all the railroads connect, and how do we make a solution? They all knew to create a flyover. And they were flying over in different ways, like the Jetsons, if you're old enough to understand the Jetsons. But they all had the idea. We did an RYP, RFP competition with 3 high schools, and had them compete to get the understanding of how you go after a job. But the biggest thing is we had a young man from Simeon who was sitting back with his baseball cap on and not listening. And I told him that I got it way too early for him not to sit up and listen. By the end of that, he said he wanted a job, and we hired him for the summer. He was going to be a carpenter. He is now in his freshman year at the University of Virginia studying architectural engineering. It takes that opportunity. So I'm going to make a plea out here while I'm asking for comment cards and questions. But if you want to participate and volunteer, just reach out to the Chin staff over there in the corner waving their hands frantically to come out and help. Be a part of it. Be a part of making sure that we have more CEOs and presidents sitting up here that are just as diverse as this group here. So with that, raise your hand for comments or questions you want to ask. Katie's right there. And I'm going to roll over to our next question. I think I have a few more minutes, Mike. Go. Sorry. Okay. Tell me about some upcoming activities associated with CREATE that you all will be participating in, if it's a project that's coming out or something that you're going to be involved in. And we'll just go with Mike. Go. I got a problem with Mike and Michael. Michael.
Well, we get excited when we're on it, when we get on somebody's team. Like we're on Granite's team, and we get invited to participate and work with them, and to get to understand their team and to understand our team. So that's really, we're learning, and everybody's work who's sitting at the table is learning also by seeing this giant in front of us and willing to work with us. So we get excited about that when we get to go one-on-one with the general contractors. That's what we do.
So looking to the future, I think Eileen mentioned this regarding CREATE. It's an alphabet soup. What you have to do is look at many futures, if you will. So IDOT sometimes has projects that will be CREATE projects. We're working with on some of those, or Cook County. Any of these members that you see behind us can be leading a CREATE project. So you have to get involved. There is a website called createprogram.org. And if you become, you can get on the list server, and they'll do e-blasts anytime any one of the CREATE members has a solicitation or an advertisement. But you just have to be diligent. You have to be committed. I think we all demonstrated that it didn't take a handshake like back in the 90s. It took perseverance. It took building relationships, building trust, confidence, and that's how you'll be able to get in with CREATE. You have to get on board.
No pun intended.
We are in the process of finalizing our final design on our first prime currently, and so we're watching exactly what Luis said to see what the next prime we can actually do from a design perspective.
So to fill the time here,
I
I think it was a really great, I just want to emphasize again what Luis said, is that we do have so many partners as part of this amazing program, and that the procurement of some of these projects are coming out through multiple agencies, which again is a fun and challenging part of this program. So I encourage, again, so I want to emphasize, that's how you find out when and where the procurement are going to happen. The other part I think it's really interesting is that, we've talked about CREATE as a whole, but the 75th Street SIP is a beast of its own. And there are going to be a number of projects that are coming out as part of that, just that piece of it. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at some of the projects that are coming out just for the SIP, as well as the system-wide projects.
Mike, someone has a question for you. How can we participate in Mike's Innovation Center?
All right, so what we did, so every year we go to the ISC West show, the International Security Conference show. And these trade shows we go to, I mean, just to participate in that, it's like $60,000 for 3 days. Now, we do innovation, we're security, from facial recognition cameras to biometrics. We're the Costco of security. Anything about security, we do it. We do vulnerability assessments. My CSO is a retired Green Beret. So we do a lot of vulnerability assessment. We'll go out there and we'll actually assess things and find out what's the proper and what technology here today. So we had to go to other places to do that, or McCormick, sometimes we have here at the GSX Global Security Conference. So what we decided to do is open a conference here in Chicago, in Lawndale. So we have just purchased 4 acres, now we're under 7 acres. We have an 80,000 square foot building, and we build a hub. Thank you very much. Right there. So we build a hub, and that's where we do our manufacturing. But to showcase not just our security products, but our partners. But what makes this project even more exciting is the mentor protege. That kid that comes out of school, has an idea, the disruptor. They see something. That's what got me starting this innovation. My first patent was September 11th, 2018. It was a utility patent. And when I saw that right there, and I saw the date, 3,200 souls were lost that day. I knew right there and then I found my purpose. I didn't look for my purpose found me. So if you want to get involved in our security hub, it's pretty great. We had Congressman Davis there a couple of months ago. He grew up 3 blocks from our location. And it's heart of Chicago, Lawndale. And it's right there on Roosevelt and Kilbourne. But come see me afterwards, and we'd definitely like to get you involved. Thank you very much.
Mike, really quickly, I hope your fellow Marines don't know that you hired a Green Beret Army,
Oh, we got them all. We got them all. Takes us all. It's a bit of shout out for the military. Less than 1%, 0.04% join the military. So I'm Special Forces. I was Force Recon. And it's even less than that. So I had the opportunity to serve 2 wars. I fought the cartel in the late 80s on a war on drugs. And then it led me to Iraq and Desert Storm in the early 90s. So I breathe security. The government taught me security. And I get a chance to bring it back to Chicago. My father came from Mexico, and his biggest dream was to become an American citizen. And it was in University of Mexico, and a recruiter came up there and says, "You want to be an American citizen?" I said, "Yes, sir. Come fight our war in Vietnam. You make it back, we'll grant you that." And that's how I got here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael, for serving and all that you're doing. One of the questions we had come in is a serious one. The largest obstacle to scaling and becoming a prime is access to capital and cash flow. How were you able to overcome this issue, and what advice do you have for other companies out there that are trying to scale and become a prime? And we'll start with Michael and just keep going down.
Okay, if you're in school, and I tell my kids this, retain earnings. The person you meet, the right and left, that's the retained earning. That's the person you put in your pocket. When you own a business, you got to continue keeping that money. It's your baby. It's your first child. You don't take that money and go spend it. You keep it in the business, right, and let it grow, and you work on it. Making it, once you learn how to get into the game, it's not that difficult. Keeping it is hard. And by keeping it, like Rashad said, that's what's going to make us primes. Because we'll be able to float it. As a subcontract in the state of Illinois, there's no, we'll give you money up front. You're the financer. You're the bank. The relationships you built with your bank is key. They're your partners. They have to understand your vision, understand your core values. And the decisions you make, it's not your sole decision to make. It's the people that work with you. We have 100 souls working for us. Families, we call them families, we call them brothers and sisters. We call them associates. All my C-suites are my partners. I'm the sole owner, but we don't call employees. We have 0 employees. So you invest in them. And by you investing in them, they'll invest in you. So when the time comes for you to step up and do work, they make sure it gets done. Thank you.
Yes. No. He's exactly right. We invest in our people. It's funny, we do the same thing. We call it the Ardmore Roderick family. Access to capital is real, and I get it. But as an entrepreneur comes a certain level of sacrifice. And until you're ready to make the sacrifice, it's going to be difficult. For 5 years, I took little to no salary. To this day, I am not the highest paid person at Ardmore Roderick. I'm not even top 5. And I'm okay with that because I recognize that this is an investment. And so I don't go out and buy things. Exactly right. I leave it in the business. And it's unfortunate and it's unfair. We can go into all types of other things, but the bigger and bigger you can have for investments for people, the more money you can have for investments for people, the better off you'll be. And so we've been able to parlay that with a strong balance sheet. A strong balance sheet is what makes your banker your best friend. So now you're keeping the money in the business, your balance sheet is good, your banker likes you, and that gets you access to more money. And so the way we've been able to do it has just been to slowly invest in our people and unfortunately leave the money in the business.
I would agree with everything they said too, but on a more granular level, if you're a sub-consultant to Prime, don't assume that Prime knows where you're at with your dollars. You got to stay on top of your dollars. You got to know what your burn rate, you got to forecast, you got to know. We've operated both as a Prime and a sub, and, there are times where we go to our Prime and we're like, hey, we're going to be, based on our burn rate, based on the need of the project, we're going to be running out of money in 90 days. What's the plan? Because I'm not stopping. It's working with them to either having to go back to the agencies or reallocating, our effort, et cetera. And I can't tell you how many times the Primes have said, hey, thanks for letting us know that. So be responsible for your own money, and don't be afraid to say, hey, they know they got to make payroll too. They may have a little bit of more float, but not always. And so sometimes it's partnering with them to making sure, going after whatever agency it is, to make them aware of, the need for timely payment. And then all of that adds up to the good balance sheet and the relationships and all the the background that you need to access capital.
Well, I'll say yes, yes, and yes to all three that spoke ahead. I would, on a specific, economics or financials, we're doing, professional services. So I know contractors like Michael. He has to buy yellow equipment. He has a lot more expensive materials for construction, and it's just different than it is for the professional services side of the panel here. But the way bankers, everybody said, become good friends with your banker. They'll give you a line of credit. They give you a line of credit based on accounts receivable. So when you have a high level of accounts receivable, go and get that line of credit, even if you don't need the money. Because when you do need the money is when the bankers are all going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But when you don't need the money is when they'll invite you in and they'll say, oh, you just have a line of credit, you don't want to use it, and they want us to use just a little bit, but not enough, not a lot of it. So that's getting really granular and getting specific. But go make sure you go to your banks, and I don't know if there's a lot of bankers in here or not, but shop around. Maybe someone will give you only 70%, another one will give you an 80% on a line of credit on your accounts receivable. That extra 10% is money that's just socked away there. You'll have to renew it every year, but that is when you have to do it, is when you don't need the money. As soon as you need the money, it's too late.
So I have 2 more questions. And this one here is truly important. Can you tell us about how you keep your motivation when you didn't get that job that you wanted and your team needed? How do you re-strategize and get ready to go after the next one? Because I know you guys, I mean, you guys are great, but you've not.
I have my
always done
therapist on
everything.
speed dial. No. Hey, you know what? We're all in this together, right? And I think that it's really isolating sometimes as a business owner because you're supposed to be the cheerleader, you're supposed to be the leader, and you're not supposed to feel disappointed. But it's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to take a beat. But what you got to recall what got you there in the first place is that you wanted to do something, and you're not going to win everyone, and you just got to know that. And every one of us up here has tasted that big job that we lost, and it hurt, right? But we have to after you take that moment, take a step back and look at it methodically. Why didn't we get it, right? Was it a cost? Was it the quals? Was it the team? Was it politics? Because let's be honest, that happens too, right? And learn from it to apply it to the next one.
I agree with Eileen, because that's really, really important. We call it BDA, before, during, and after action reports. So we do a lot of military acronyms because of the military background and stuff. But yeah, especially when we invest so many hours, right? And and it's not usually just one person, it's usually a team putting this big, massive project together. But when I look at it now, yeah, it does hurt, especially when you come under 1%, 2%, 3%. When somebody left something on the table, God bless them, good luck. But you have to know your industry, know what you can do, and take it as an opportunity to learn, to learn that project. Because you know what? I can't tell you how many times I wasn't no bidder. I was second or third, and I got called back in because we were invested with that. But I invested in my people because they got to learn, they got to grow. And the BDA, before, during, but the after action report, it's monumental to us because it's lessons learned. And business is always about lessons learned. Learn from our mistakes. What could we have done better? How do we approach the next one?
Professional services are a little bit different. We get chosen on qualifications, and sometimes you're qualified to do the work. Sometimes that you got the experience and you got the people, and you lose it anyway. Two things I would suggest. Number one is I have a 24-hour rule. If we win something, we get 24 hours to celebrate, and then it's time to go to work. We lose it, we got 24 hours to cry about it, and then we go back to work. 24-hour rule. The second thing is always ask for a debrief afterwards. When you lose, and we all have lost in the professional services, you can ask for a debrief. Go to the agency, say, hey, just want to set up a meeting, want to know how we can do it better next time. I did a lot of those early on. As you mature, you'll know why you lost, so you probably don't need the debrief. But until then, always call, ask for a debrief, sit down with the client, and it might take 2-3 months to be able to schedule it. So be it. It's going to be valuable information. They will tell you exactly why you lost in most cases.
Can I answer? Are we ending, or do we have a minute or so?
I want to hit something on that one too. Real quick, if I get something.
Well, I would just say there are sometimes, prices even for professional services. And it would never be one of these clients. These would be perfect clients. But sometimes you don't want to have that as your client. If the price is too low, why would you want to do that? That means that particular client, none of these, are trying to lowball you or get a service that isn't we have good paid staff. We have well-paid staff. We have we're professionals. We want to give you a great product, but it's going to cost this amount of money, whatever that is. So if a client is going in at, whatever you're at, even if it's 2 or 3%, you're giving it with the value that you think it's worth. And so sometimes not all clients are worth it, let's just say.
You guys hit on something really important, and you know what? Because I'm going to talk about it because of suicide awareness. Struggle and failure are the key ingredients to success, right? And we have to emanate that to our children and people we know. Struggle is, you're going to have to go through it. It's a biological necessity. People understand it. A guy by the name of Daniel Coyle wrote this book, 57 Talents, how to improve it. But number 17 talks about how struggle is a biological necessity. it turns on pathways in your brain to make you really understand. And that's when you really turn it on in failure. When you look at Thomas Edison, I'm sure you all know how many times he failed on trying to make the light bulb. Over a thousand times. When a person came up to a reporter, asked, how do you have the tenacity to continue going on? And he looked at it, he says, he didn't look at it as failure. He says, I found 999 ways what didn't work. But fun fact that I didn't know, because I'm an inventor, during that pathway, it was on the Guinness Book World Record, he held over 1,000 patents in his time. Because that changed the era of our industry. So go back, and when you see somebody you know that is struggling, high five, because that is what you're going to, because you need that, and you need to fail in order to succeed. Thank you.
So I want to thank our panel for being here today. I have one last question. It's a quick question, I promise you, Mike, just to help you get to know our panelists a little bit more. Don't worry, Rashad. If you had to have one song you could walk out on stage to, what would it be? Luis.
La vida loca.
I am the tiger.
Let's go crazy.
I am Tiger, absolutely.
You got to have your own, Michael.
Sylvester Stallone is my hero.
And mine would be Rise Up, because we rise up every day and we meet the new day with the new beginning. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank our panelists, and I hope that you connect with them afterwards and get their cards and reach out to them. Have a great day.